Welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to another live Manchester United news, transfer news, update news show. And the news has gone crazy today. When I say there's about 6 different journalists who have put out a story, the Ten Hag was over like 15 players gone brutal clear. It does not rate these players. But you look at it, and there's only about 7 players at Man United that Ten Hag does rate, and he signed about 4 of them. Other than the players he signed this summer, he only seems to rate Bruno, Rashford, and Luke Shaw and Varane at Manchester United, which is absolutely mad. And Ten Hag wants investment in the summer. He wants a goalkeeper. He especially wants a big striker, and he wants a big midfielder. He also wants another centre back to challenge Martinez and Varane, and a right back. He wants 5 major signings, and potentially even an understudy at striker and understudy for Casemiro as well in the summer. Like 7 kind of potential signings going in. So to do that, he's going to have to list up for sale 15 players. He wants Manchester United to act like a serious club in the summer, which is a lot to ask for because we've never acted like a serious club in the summer, and sell 15 players. I'm going to get into who those players are, what Ten Hag's been saying about players. Obviously, in January, Ten Hag came out and said Manchester United have been signing too many average players in recent years. It's not good enough, taking hits at some of the people we signed. And even some of the surprising sales like Wan-Bissaka, Jadon Sancho, David De Gea reportedly on Ten Hag's list to get out. And then we will refer into some takeover news, what's going on with that as well. So please do smash that like button if you haven't already. And of course, subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football if you're new. Yawn. Anyway, I saw this and I want to get into the news in just a second, but I saw this and this is true. 5 weeks until the transfer window opens and we've still got the Glazers as owners. Obviously, it is just under a week now until the bid line for the third and final bid. And after the third and final bid, there will not be another round of bidding. They have to pick the next owner or go and into exclusive negotiations with 1 or 2 people. There will be no more bidding rounds after this. So the takeover is concluding. But at the end of April, we haven't got new owners. 5 weeks to the transfer window starts. Glazers moping around. Ten Hag clearly wants a lot to do this summer, and that is being compromised by the Glazers. And what we will do later in this video is we will dive in to some transfer news later in this video. But I really want to get into some news that's come out today. I mean, guys, when I say there's a lot of news to get through, I mean there's a lot of news to get through. Look, Manchester United lost to Sevilla yesterday. Look, that wasn't good. That wasn't a positive. Fuck off. Let me get my story up. But we've got a lot to get through, and it's clear that Ten Hag doesn't really rate anyone at Manchester United, or rates very few players. It was said here, Erik Ten Hag will oversee a summer clear out of senior Manchester United players with Jadon Sancho, Martial, Maguire, Victor Lindelof, Scott McTominay and Fred heading a list of 15 players' futures that are under threat. So that could be potentially 15 Manchester United players under threat, 15 players' future under threat. And, you know, some of those names are going to be the likes of Jadon Sancho more and more. Ten Hag ready to get rid of a lot of Manchester United players. Like, as I've said, like, he's not mucking about this summer. You know, people overreact a lot, and Ten Hag's not a problem, and Ten Hag's doing a fantastic job with the squad. But one thing Ten Hag does know is Ten Hag knows who's good enough, and Ten Hag knows who's not good enough. And Ten Hag doesn't rate McFred. Ten Hag doesn't rate Maguire. Ten Hag doesn't probably rate a lot of Manchester United players. He has a plan as well. 15 will be sold. Stories are exaggerated. Well, I don't think we'll actually sell 15 people, because realistically, we say we want to sell about 10 people each summer, and we can only get 2 out the door. And the only player we got money for last summer was James Garner, because United are ridiculous at selling. We're not a selling club. We've never been a selling club. Do I wish we were a selling club in the sense of, do I wish we'd actually sell our deadwood? Yes. I mean, the reason we've got 15 players to get rid of is because this club has been run so poorly by the Glazers, who think that if they stay, the club could be worth 10 billion because they're deluded. But because the club has been run so poorly by the Glazers, there's this thought process within the Glazers that, oh, if we stay, we could be worth 10 billion. My freaking arse, you run the club so badly that, we can't sell any of our deadwood, and we've got so many average players that we sign that Ten Hag needs to get rid of 15 people. And that is partly because of the Glazers, because of just how incompetently useless they are as well. Phil Jones plus Dirty Harry won't be leaving. Well, Phil Jones will 100% be leaving. I tell you that because he's out of contract. So the injury staff will have a lot less to do next season. But Maguire, very, very likely to go. I mean, should I? I mean, as said, this is a good point to mention. Glazer PR has been after an embarrassing defeat. Last summer we meant to sell 10 players and didn't, which is true. We did get rid of a lot of players last summer as well. And Martial looks injured as well. Couldn't have come at a worse time. I swear, all I said is, if we lose to Sevilla and if we're going to lose to Sevilla, this is awful, but at least we could get out of it with no injuries. Bloody injuries. I tell you what, Sevilla have taken Varane, Martinez and Martial away from us. I absolutely hate them. I tell you this now. We need Varane, we need Martinez, we need Martial. I'll tell you what, the most important player that we have is Casemiro, followed by Bruno, followed by Martinez, followed by Rashford, followed by Varane, and then probably followed by Martial, believe it or not. Because I tell you this now, for a fact, if Manchester United could actually stay fit and we had Antony on the right, Rashford on the left, Martial up top, Bruno, Eriksen, Casemiro, midfield three with Martinez, Varane, probably Delo or Wan-Bissaka. I think I rate them both, Luke Shaw and David Terry in net. We'd be in a solid position, but we're not in a solid position because we're in absolute injury chaos. But Ten Hag said, it's not about the players that aren't here. It's about the players that are here, and the players that are here aren't good enough. I'm giving these players an opportunity, and they're not taking their chances. Jadon Sancho started the last 5 games in a row. The first 2 were good. The last 3, he's been awful. What is he doing? Nothing. Ten Hag is willing to sell Jadon Sancho because Ten Hag believes that he can get 40 to 50 million for Jadon Sancho, and that could be invested elsewhere. Ten Hag believes he can get 30 million from McTominay, 30 million from Maguire, 50 million for Sancho. That could be 110 million of those players. 20 million for Dean Henderson, which takes us about 130 million. Probably 15 million for Martial, which takes us to about 145 million. Potentially Bailly, Tellers get you another 5 million. Brandon Williams gets you another 5 million. Ten Hag could make and Wan-Bissaka could go for about 20 million now, considering he's been a lot better. But, Man United could make about 150 million outgoings. And that's what Ten Hag's vision is. Sell these players. We can make 150, 160 million outgoings. We need to balance our book. But also that would allow me the financial capabilities to bring in Frankie de Jong. Not that he's going to get Frankie de Jong because he's going to stay at Barcelona. But bring in someone like Frankie de Jong that would be 70, 80 million. Then bring in a £100 million striker. Then bring in a £50 million centre-back. And then bring in a £50 million goalkeeper. Now, we will talk about David Raya at Manchester United. Obviously, it could be PR spin. As mentioned, United do like a PR spin. Have you ever noticed that the day after a bad loss, we always get a lot more news stories come out about, ooh, we're going to buy this player, ooh, fuck off, a load of bullshit. We always get those kind of players in the summer of, as soon as we drop a bit of points. But I do want to get into some stories about who's going to be sold. Now, there's a lot of players up for sale, and there's a lot of truth, I think, in some of these stories. I think that Ten Hag does want a large amount of players sold, but we'll have to say, I'm just in a super chat. Thank you very much, Xavi, for the super chat. Just showing some support. Really appreciate it as well. And Sancho is an Erik Ten Hag player. Erik Ten Hag values warriors, top mentality footballers, and Sancho isn't just that. And you're right, Alex, and it's a shame because you know me, I'm a big Jadon Sancho admirer, but Jadon Sancho showed me no personality. Jadon Sancho showed me no character on the pitch, no mentality. That he's not got that personality. He's not got that Jadon Sancho. You look at Antony. Antony was our best defender yesterday. You can argue with me all you want, but Antony was United's best defender because at every given opportunity, it is Antony tracking back. Antony making this move. Antony making that move. Antony's tracking back. Antony made more tackles, I think, clearances than anyone on the pitch. He was the only player that showed up yesterday. And the reason that Antony's doing better than Sancho, despite, Sancho needing his year to adapt and Antony needing his year to adapt, who's coming out better? Antony's been not even a year, doesn't speak the language, has adapted. You saw Antony iffy at first. You've given him time. Antony's growing and growing and growing because Antony works hard. Antony's got that mentality, and he is a 10-hour player. Sancho isn't that. Sancho is a good player. I rate Sancho, but he's not giving enough, and he's having the chances. Garnacho comes on, he's direct, he gets the ball, runs at people, he makes an impact. Sancho just doesn't seem to make an impact. I don't know if it's a confidence thing. I don't know if he's just not meant for Ten Hag. I don't know if he's doing a Dele Alli and just not really trying. I don't know what it is with Sancho, but Garnacho makes more of an impact. Pellistri makes more of an impact. I'm at the point where I think Elanga would make more of an impact. I like Sancho, but Manchester United need to see a lot more from Jadon Sancho as well. How we are linked to Kane. I would rather take Dejan Højbjerg or Romero than Kane. I think Kane would be a good signing. I know a lot of people are against Kane, but yeah. Antony actually had a go. Can't say that for most of the squad yesterday. Shocking mentality, says Alex, and I agree. And this is what frustrates me about Sancho. He doesn't even try. He doesn't even run at players. It really frustrates me as well. One sec. I just need to change. I've just seen I just made a spelling error in my title there. Okay, sorry. I just made a spelling error there. Let me change that. But generally, this is the thing. I'm not saying that Sancho is the next Dele Alli, but Sancho's got 2 routes he can take. 2 routes he can take, and that is 1, be the Dele Alli, not try. And look, I don't know if he's trying. I don't know what he's working on. Sancho could be working incredibly hard and doing his best, and he's just not cut for United. But when I see Antony play, I see someone giving it all, someone trying, someone doing this, someone doing that. When I see Sancho play, I don't see enough. I feel like is Sancho giving it his all in training? You know, Bruno said that there was an incident. Remember when Bruno little opened his gob? That actually there was an incident where, you know, Sancho did get in trouble in training for poor attitude. We know there was problems at Dortmund where he got called up on it. I don't know if this is a thing. I have no credible sources to confirm this, but is there the worry that Sancho is a bit lazy? You know, it is, you know, because I see Anthony and he's really gone up a gear, and I see Sancho isn't even trapped back. And you know what? At the end of the day, you can sometimes just not be right for United. You can sometimes not be good enough for United. And I look at someone like McTominay. McTominay is not good enough for United, but at least with McTominay, you know that is a guy that gives his all. McTominay is an average footballer. I don't know how he's got so many games at Manchester United, but I will always praise this with McTominay. McTominay is a leader. He's got leadership skills. He's a good personality. And everything you want personality-wise in a player, you've got a McTominay. Works hard, leadership, will try, but he's just not got the ability. Whereas someone with Sancho, I feel that he's got the ability, but I don't know if he's got the mentality. I don't know if he can handle the mentality side of playing for a club like United. And I think that's sort of what worries me the most for someone like Jadon Sancho as well. Alice, please talk about the board. I mean, look, what is there to talk about the board? That they're rubbish and F the board. I mean, that's what I would really say about the board. But what I do want to do is I do want to dive into the stories as well. Sancho, big flop, go back to Borussia Dortmund. I'm going to do a poll. I'm going to ask you guys, would you sell Sancho or not? Because I love Sancho and I've always been of the view of let's just give him one more season, give him a run of games, see how he does. But I am losing patience. So I think if we sold Sancho, we get between 40 and 50 million. We'll say 50 million. Sell Sancho, we'll say 45 million to go in the middle. Sell Sancho for 45 mil. I'm going to ask you guys in the poll, in the chat, if you'd sell Jadon Sancho for 45 million to see what your thought process is on that as well. And loads of people talk about Greenwood. Greenwood's not coming back. He might do in the summer, but I don't think he'll play again. Sancho is more interested in lifestyle outside of football. Main worry of Kane is he's been at a bottle job club his whole career. This squad doesn't need more of that mentality, which is true. We need that Casemiro mentality as well. But I do think Kane would be a top player. So the story started off by saying, okay, and I've got so much news to get into, so I need to get into it. Erik Ten Hag will oversee a summer clear out of senior Manchester United players this summer with Sancho, Martial, Maguire, Lindelof, Scott McTominay and Fred heading the list of 15 under threat. Now, this doesn't mean he's going to sell all 15. If he sells McTominay, he probably can't afford to sell Fred because of midfield depth. If he sells Lindelof, he can't afford to sell Maguire. Now, one of the centre-backs will leave. It's seen that Maguire will probably go and Ten Hag will bring in a centre-back to replace Maguire. It's seen that a striker will come in. It's probably one of Fred and McTominay going to go. I think McTominay will go over Fred because I think McTominay raised more monies, but also Sancho could be one of those players going. But the story continued up by saying, and The Athletic actually got on the report, and they said, again, corroborated the story. And again, basically, because there's about 6 journalists saying the same story, Manchester United have done a debriefing yesterday after the 3-0 loss saying we're selling all these players because they know we're pissed off. They know we're angry that the delay in the takeover. They know this, they know that. This is a transfer briefing. This is partly a PR spin, I'm going to be honest with you, because we lose 3-0. 6 journalists saying the same thing who were all briefed directly by United. United saw we lost 3-0. United did like a debriefing, PR spin, etc., etc. But it was said here, Manchester United are planning a number of outgoings this summer. There are doubts over the playing futures of several members of the first team, and decisions have already been made regarding a handful of players. But The Athletic is saying they've already made decisions regarding a handful of players, and that is that Brandon Williams will be sold, Eric Bailly will be sold, Alex Telles will be sold, Alanga will be loaned out, Mejbri will be loaned out, Palestri will be loaned out, Martial will likely be sold, Wan-Bissaka will be listed for sale, Donny van de Beek will be listed for sale, Maguire will likely be sold, David De Gea could potentially be sold, but it also depends on the Dean Henderson situation and injury, so that could be Dean Henderson for sale. You know, Lindelof potentially for sale, but I think they're more interested in getting Maguire out the door. But I think it will depend on money. Fred could potentially be sold. There's a lot of players that Manchester United want to get out of the club, and they said the club wishes to be more decisive on outgoings. But they're saying that United have already made some plans, already made some ideas about who they want to sell as well. Alice, we need to sell many players before Sancho. I agree. There's players that need to get out of this club way before Sancho would have had too many chances, like Mr. 80 million Maguire. What's the poll looking like for the Sancho debate? Is it you guys sort of agreeing on Sancho to stay or Sancho to go? Just wondering what the poll is looking like. But continuing on with the story, it was also said that there will be no increased offer for David De Gea's contract. So despite a handful of players being listed, Erik Ten Hag is not interested in giving De Gea an increased contract offer. If he wants to stay at Manchester United, he's going to have to take reduced wages, which could suggest that David De Gea would be a number 2 keeper next season, which corroborates with James Ducker's story that I'm going to get into just now. And all these stories corroborate because Manchester United have done a big fat debriefing. But James Ducker said, with Ten Hag desperate to strengthen his attack and midfield, there have been doubts about whether the club can afford to invest in a new goalkeeper, but the manager wants a number 1 who's better with his feet. And now all these stories after the hair bad performance is coming out about Ten Hag wanting a goalkeeper. And I'll be honest with you, Ten Hag has always wanted a goalkeeper, but Ten Hag has got brains and realises there's bigger priorities. The number 1 priority is striker. Man United need a striker that is good, that is top level, that can stay fit, because we are playing without Weghorst up top. The number 2 priority is having another creative midfielder. If Bruno doesn't play, if Casemiro doesn't play, I mean, we should be signing 2 midfielders, Casemiro back up and a creative midfielder playing next to Casemiro. Ten Hag wants a big fat striker. Ten Hag wants a big fat midfielder. Ten Hag's also looking at a right back. If Maguire or Lindelof go, he will sign a centre back. One of them is very likely to go on top of a goalkeeper, on top of Casemiro back up. Ten Hag wants a lot of people in, and it highlights that we do need a lot of people in. But as James Ducker said, striker and midfield is that number 1 priority of Ten Hag's as well. We'll talk about Nico Barella. I think he would be a very good sign, but we've not really been linked to it. And we will talk about Qatar news in just a second as well. We need a backup CDM. This is why I like the idea of Moises Caicedo, and potentially we take a risk on someone like Enzo Lafia or Kunkuku as well. And sorry, Alice, how are we going to sell all these players when they're on big contracts remaining? And that's the problem. Manchester United spend too much money on average players, give them ridiculous contracts, and cannot sell them. And, this is what Ten Hag's trying to change. Ten Hag's trying to change this kind of mentality at United, because that's something we need to sort out. We seem to sell crap people, buy crap people, and not be able to sell them. It was also said the club wants to be more efficient when deciding to part ways with a player, and are also looking to do something similar to selling James Garner for 15 million by selling any informed players rather than transfer undesirables. So look, I still think James Garner would have been a more use than McTominay this season. And I think Everton wasn't the right choice for him, because Everton are a shambolic run club. But 15 million for James Garner isn't looking too bad, considering how poor James Garner has been this season, but not really been playing much. But what they're basically trying to say is, Wan-Bissaka, we couldn't even get 12 million for. We couldn't even get 12 million for Wan-Bissaka in the summer. I reckon because of how good Wan-Bissaka's been lately, you can get 20 million for him. And even though that Wan-Bissaka's been good lately, what they're saying is Ten Hag wants people like Wan-Bissaka, Martial, Fred, McTominay, Maguire to be sold, even if they start playing well from now to the end of the season, while they're at a desirable price. Because Ten Hag said, even though some of these players have been decent, like Wan-Bissaka, they're never going to be good enough for United in his mind. They're never going to be the players he wants at United in his mind. So Ten Hag is like, well, now Wan-Bissaka's been good, we could get 20 million. We'll sell him, we'll take advantage of that, because he won't be in my future plans. Maguire, we could get 25 million for. McTominay, we could get 30 million for. Martial's bagged a few goals, we could get 20 million for. We're going to sell these players because they are in my plans. They're not in my plans, and we can get money for them. And it's said that Ten Hag not just wants to get rid of the Brandon Williams, the Bayes, the Tellez, is that we will basically no one wants the Phil Jones and Axel Tuanzebe out of contract, the Donny van der Beeks. But Ten Hag wants to get rid of people like McTominay, Maguire, Martial, Wan-Bissaka, Sancho, that he knows he can get a bit of money for, especially people like Wan-Bissaka that have now gone into form. Because although I think we should keep Wan-Bissaka, and I really like Wan-Bissaka and he's really impressed me, Ten Hag doesn't particularly rate Wan-Bissaka. He likes the guy, he's put in a lot of effort. But, he's never going to be a Ten Hag player. And Ten Hag's probably thinking, well, while he's playing well, while he's had a good season, I want Frimpong. But I still think because Wan-Bissaka's really resurged this season, all of a sudden we're looking from barely getting 10 million for him to easily getting 20 million. And Ten Hag's thinking that United need to jump and take advantage of that. While we've got an opportunity to sign some players, jump, take advantage of that, go out there, try and sign those players, etc. Martial, Williams, Mason will likely go as well. Remember, the German league is not as hard as people. Remember, the German league is not as hard as people have me worried if we've got Bellingham. I mean, this is the thing. I think Bellingham's a fantastic player, but one, I don't think Bellingham is actually the type of profile that Manchester United need, and I don't think that Manchester United needs to sign a player like Bellingham. But two, if Manchester United do go out there and decide to sign a player like Jude Bellingham, my thought process is this: he's in the Bundesliga. I know he's very good in the World Cup, but when you sign someone in the Bundesliga, a lot of the time they can't do it in the Premier League because the Bundesliga is no better than the Eredivisie. They've just got Bayern Munich instead of Ajax that are better than Ajax, in my opinion, as well. If David De Gea goes, who do you want to replace him? I mean, look, I really do like Diogo Costa, but I'm not paying anywhere near 60, 70 million for him. When you see David Raya for 20 million, I will go for David Raya. The problem is, obviously, goalies are hard to replace. Is David Raya Man United level? Yeah. The goalkeepers are such a difficult position to get. I do like the AC Milan keeper. His name is his name is completely left my head. The AC Milan got good keeper. So yeah, as well. But we need at least 10 players. I mean, I generally think United need about 5 to 8 signings. Yes, we need 2 centre-backs, 2 midfielders, and a proper 9. I mean, for me, we need a right-back, we need a centre-back, we need a goalkeeper, we need a Casemiro understudy, we need a box-to-box midfielder, we need a fat striker, main striker, and a striker understudy that's young. For me, we need 7 players as well. And we need Qatar. Qatar incoming is important. I mean, yes, Qatar investment is important. And the annoying thing is that obviously 1 more week until the takeover is over, 1 more week until the final rounds of bids are finally bish bash bosh done. But the annoying thing about this takeover and all of this as well is that the longer this is going on, the less and less time we have to get rid of those people we want to get rid of and bring in those people we want to bring in. The takeover is just really, again, further delaying, further dragging the deal. And I just think, Ten Hag clearly wants to get on and do this, and that. But we're not going to be able to get on with that until the takeover wraps up as well. So smash that like button, people, if you want Qatar in as well. What the hell has Martial done this season? He just injured. Ten Hag likes Martial. Ten Hag actually thinks Martial's a good player and rates Martial, but Ten Hag does not want to keep Martial because he's unreliable. Martial's one of those players, if he was fit, I do think that he'd be part of Ten Hag's plans. Probably be the second choice keeper, but I do think he'd be part of Ten Hag's plans. Diving further into the stories that are coming out, people, got a bit more I want to get into as well. It was said Erik Ten Hag knows how Manchester City and Liverpool have been informed by the signings of Ederson and Alisson, and he knows he needs to make similar signing if United need to challenge for the title again. Now, I do think this was PR spin because we've lost, but a lot of news is coming out that Ten Hag wants David Raya gone, and the Disco Mirror even said that Ten Hag wants a goalkeeper that's capable of playing the ball out from the back with his feet. And James Ducker listed the list of goalkeepers that Manchester United are all of a sudden looking at. And I do generally believe that, again, this is PR because De Gea has played bad, but Manchester United have been paying attention to the likes of Diogo Costa this summer. Manchester United have been paying attention to the likes of David Raya this summer. So I do think there is potential interest in a goalkeeper from Manchester United. I just think because they massively need a striker, because they massively need a midfielder, I don't know if they're going to pursue it. But, as said here, Diogo Costa, David Raya, Jan Sommer, all there. Potentially something could happen with Dean Henderson's situation. I think the most realistic would be David Raya because of his price. But reportedly, Chelsea are actually the front runners to get David Raya. Chelsea reportedly leading that race as well. I've become more and more wary of Bundesliga to PL transfers. So many failures making that switch. Yeah. Name me some Bundesliga players that have been good. Haaland, Havertz, flop. Sancho, flop. Werner, flop. Just so many Bundesliga players have come to the Premier League and just now. De Bruyne has been good. Man City's Bundesliga players have been good. But United, I think, when you're seeing 100 million Bundesliga players, you need to avoid, right now. It's a big risk. It's like signing someone from the Eredivisie. It's a big risk. Donny was a flop. Depay was a flop. But we've got Anthony and we've got Martinez that weren't a flop. I think, if you sign a Bundesliga player or you sign a player from an Eredivisie or Portuguese league, I think you really do need to know the player kind of in and out. I do think, Ten Hag knew the players he signed from the Eredivisie. I think Sancho, we knew the player, but he was a very obvious signing. Although Bruno Fernandes was massive. And I tell you what, the Portuguese league has some gems, though. I will say that. I would sign Gonçalo Ramos, which I know you could say is a risk. There's some really good players for me. I think Bruno was a good signing. But I have to say, most overrated signing ever, João Felix, never worth 100 million. I think he's a good player, but he's one of the most overrated footballers ever. The only thing about it is you do have to overpay as well. Qatar means no depth. We will talk more about Qatar in just a second as well. Alex said Frimpong's not a guarantee either. A defensively suspect Bundesliga win back coming to the PL back four, and that is a worry as well. And Bellingham's not worth 160 million. He's worth about 70 million. I agree with that as well. And Sanchez at Brighton would be good, and he's cheap. He hasn't started a lot recently. I do like Sanchez at Brighton, but he's dropped off a little bit, hasn't he? And remember when everyone was saying that Rashford's PSG for 50 million? Now look at him. And look, this is the thing. I mean, I don't know what the results of the poll are, but not that long ago, everyone was saying sell Rashford to PSG for 50 million. He's obviously turned it around. So you could say, why are we, we're all saying about this selling Sancho, selling this, get rid of Sancho for 50 million. But you don't know where Sancho could be next year. The only thing is with Rashford is I know he works hard. I don't know that about Jadon Sancho, and that's the worrying thing. It was that the Harry Maguire, David Raya, and Anthony Martial are all set to be offloaded this summer. So there's a lot of good journalists saying that David Raya will be offloaded this summer. But the fact that loads of good journalists who were directly briefed by Manchester United put out a story this morning after a bad performance that he's going to be sold this summer says to me it's a briefing and potentially a PR spin. Adding to that as well, other players Ten Hag is considering allowing to leave include Donny van der Beek, Alanga, Dean Henderson and Brandon Williams. Alex Tellers, Hannibal Mejbri and Eric Bailly, who are out on loan, are almost certain to depart. I think Hannibal Mejbri going on a permanent. I don't think that would happen. I'd assume he'd get another loan deal, but we'll have to see what happens with that. I mean, what's Hannibal Mejbri been like on loan? I have not particularly watched him a lot as well. Now, the interesting thing that was said by James Ducker of the Telegraph is that Scott McTominay has been a valuable squad player for Ten Hag, and it's not on the list of the players the club is currently looking to sell. However, Ten Hag would consider a sizable offer for McTominay as too good to turn down if it provides the funds to reinvest in midfield upgrade. So Ten Hag isn't desperate to get rid of McTominay, but if he can get an offer of 25, 30 million for McTominay, he's not going to turn it down. McTominay is one of those players where he's not going to be up for sale, but he's not going to turn down a good offer for him, because at the end of the day, he's not going to be in his long-term plans. Now, what was said by The Guardian, on the other hand, regarding Maguire and Lindelof, he may not sanction the sale of both because it could be difficult to buy two new first-team centre-backs. The former is the favourite to be let go, and that would be Maguire. It's basically said as well, Lindelof and Maguire, there's been offers for Lindelof and Maguire, especially Lindelof. There's been quite a few teams giving offers for Lindelof, but it's more likely that, because he won't be able to sign two centre-backs in the summer, Lindelof stays and Maguire lets go, and Man United get rid of Maguire in the summer. It was also said, but believe it or not, breaking news, shocking news, that Wout Weghorst is probably not going to stay at United after his loan, but there's a chance Sabitzer could. Well, that's good as well. I mean, Sabitzer still needs to do a bit more for me. I know that it's a bargain price, but I still think we need to see more from Sabitzer. It was 100% confirmed that the outer contract, Phil Jones and Axel Tuanzebe, will be leaving Manchester United soon. And the Mail then added to this saying, in a significant change, Manchester United are also prioritising ways to monetise players who aren't considered good enough to be long-team part of the future first team. So there's players that Ten Hag wants rid of this summer, and there's players that Ten Hag would accept offers for if the right money comes in, because he doesn't think a long-term they'll be a good enough player. I think Ten Hag is happy with Wan-Bissaka, but he doesn't consider him a long-term player. So if we get an offer for Wan-Bissaka, he sells him. I think he's happy with McTominay, but he doesn't see him as a long-term player. So if he gets an offer, he'll sell him. I tell you who he's not happy with: Eric Bailly, Tellez. They're the type of people that if you get an offer, they offer sell, they go straight away. Maguire goes straight away. I think De Gea could go, but I think because the priority is striker in midfield, I think De Gea's situation depends sort of how much money we have. Do we have Qatari, and what's the transfer looking like, etc. I will talk about the takeover in a second. I'm just taking a quick swig of water here, because I'll tell you this, I am very, very thirsty today, very thirsty as well. I'm just going to scroll down. It was Manigan, the good AC Milan keeper. Sommer's awful. Yeah, I wouldn't be looking at Sommer at all. David De Gea can't play out from the back with his hands. David De Gea is a good shot stopper, but he's really lacking in playing out from the back, and that's what Ten Hag's concerned about, because at the end of the day, the way Ten Hag wants to play, you need to be good at playing at the back. You need to be good with your feet. Ten Hag is a modern manager. He does want a modern goalkeeper. However, Ten Hag acknowledges is that there's bigger problems than David De Gea. David De Gea hasn't been particularly good. David De Gea hasn't been particularly impressive, but Ten Hag does sit there and think, well, look, we've got a lot bigger problems at Manchester United than David De Gea. We've got, striker issues. We've got midfield issues. But David De Gea is not good with his feet. David De Gea does not offer enough here. David De Gea does not offer enough there. And that's why Ten Hag is potentially looking at him. We don't need Man City rejects like Frimpong. I think he's a decent player, but I think it's a massive risk as well. And what's this? I think we need 5 centre-backs, a good goalie, a right back, and a midfielder, and a centre-back, and a proven striker. We need 5 players. Well, I don't misread that's 5 centre-backs. I agree as well. Alice, the Portugal League are more technical than the Premier League. The Portuguese League has got some absolute ballers in it. Any keeper has to be able to handle United pressure. Raya to come to Old Trafford and misplace more passes than De Gea that match. True. While Raya is good, you've also got, there's the thing of you've got to be a goalkeeper for a good team is very different to being a goalkeeper for a mid-table team. You could be a fantastic keeper for a relegation side making all these saves. But when you go to the Premier League team that wants to win trophies, you're not going to have to be making 12, 15 saves a game. You're going to have to be making 3 or 4 worldy of a save a game, because, you're not going to be used to having shot. You might have nothing to do all game, then you have to pull out a top save. But what we do want is someone that's good with their feet as well. And Raya's short passing isn't particularly good, but it is better than De Gea's as well. People, let me know who you'd sell in the summer. McTominay, Sancho, Maguire, Martial, potentially Fred could be sold this summer. Could be the case. as well. And Wan-Bissaka wouldn't be a priority sale. Like, I like Wan-Bissaka. Wan-Bissaka for Frimpong, I'm really not that bothered about it. If we get it, we get it. If we don't, we don't. I just wanted Ten Hag once at the end of the day because Ten Hag is the manager as well. Would you take Lautaro Martinez? I mean, yeah, but it's better fishes at sea as well. And Sevilla packed the midfield. We need quality out wide to stretch them, hence why he took off Wan-Bissaka and brought Shaw. And we did stretch them, but the mistakes, panic killed us off. But yeah, I get your point to an extent. Ndika would be a good free centre back. Ndika's a very good player as well. Pedro Goncalves to United, that'd be an interesting one. I'll tell you who United should have looked at, and that was Mateus Nunes at Wolves. I've said this for a while. Mateus Nunes at Wolves, I would have really liked him to have gone to Manchester United. I really wish that Manchester United had given that player a little bit of a look in as well. I want to get into some more news as well. Ten Hag's obviously made decisions on a number of players as well, and Ten Hag obviously said in January that Manchester United have brought too many average players. Now, I have to say that there's another story is coming, and this regards the takeover, this regards sort of what's going on with the Manchester United takeover and more about Ten Hag kind of being anxious regarding the takeover and Manchester United's plans. So the Mail came out with a story and said Manchester United are anxious to get money in so Ten Hag can spend on these players ready to start in the first team next season. Basically, the Mail did a thing and they said, look, there's 15 players Ten Hag wants gone. There's 3 key signings who are going to be first team players that he wants in. And United are anxious about this because they need to sell players to make the money for that. They need to know where the ownership situation lies. And Ten Hag wants to get things done, but he can't rest. He can't be chill about it until that's all kind of sorted out as well. It was said that they potentially want to spend another 100 million, approaching 100 million on a superstar centre forward, which is a priority for the manager. They also want a big centre mid, and obviously goalkeeper and centre back could become a key part of that as well. Now, it was also said that United themselves will want to spend in the summer, but a midfielder and striker is their main priority instead of a goalkeeper. And reportedly, and I don't like this, I really don't like this, but reportedly Manchester United are very interested in Mason Mount. Now, as I've said, I really hope we don't sign Mason Mount. I don't think he's what we need. I think he's an all right player, to be fair. Like, I think he's got too much sick this season. He has been good for Chelsea, but he is one of those players that I don't particularly want Mason Mount, you know. I don't see what new he acts. I just see him being on the bench for Bruno. I don't see him playing a lot. Like, there's a decent player in Mason Mount, and you know he's been Chelsea's player of the season 2 years in a row. Like, you know, Chelsea fans have been too harsh on him this season, but he has been particularly awful this season. Now Mason Mount could be Rashford, and this could be his particularly awful season. Next season he starts banging it in. But at the moment, I wouldn't be looking at Mason Mount. I wouldn't. I'd rather look at James Maddison because Mason Mount's been nowhere near good enough for Chelsea. So I don't get quite why United are going out and looking for him as well. Alex, who do you get rid of first? Donny van der Beek or McTominay? It's a tough one because I think Donny is better and Donny's more suited to Ten Hag's system, but we've seen less of Donny. So I think Ten Hag will naturally think that Donny would have to go before McTominay because Donny's been injured and not been particularly impressive. But I'd probably get rid of McTominay because I just want to see Donny given a run of games. It's annoying that Donny got injured because Casemiro had all those suspensions. We've had all those injuries. This would have been Donny's chance to have a run of games. And I do think Donny, Casemiro, Bruno midfield would look really good. When Donny and Bruno played together, it looks quite good. And I'm really annoyed that we never got to see that because that's something I've always wanted to see, that kind of midfield as well. Wan-Bissaka improved, but he's not the ilk of fullback that Erik Ten Hag prefers as well. And I think although Wan-Bissaka's looked better than Dalot recently, Dalot is the Ten Hag player as well. Wan-Bissaka to Palace in exchange for Eze would be great. I like Eze and I like Elise, although we don't really need Elise now. We've got Anthony. Palace have got some decent players as well. Scrolling down, how far am I behind on the live chat? Okay, not too far behind as well. Mount is okay, but not good enough for United. Yeah, I think we need to do better. Mount is average. Mount is average. The owners will decide who we sign and sell. Well, we're going to talk about ownership in just a second as well. And Mount let the other clubs have him, and I agree with that. And yeah, we could play Bournemouth next Thursday live. That's Southampton Bournemouth. I was going to say United don't have Bournemouth yet, do they? I mean, what are United's fixture list? So now we're out of the Europa League. Our fixture list concludes of no Europa. Chelsea and Man United are both out of Europe. So I'm assuming the Chelsea-Man United game is going to be postponed for when the semi-final leg would be. So we've got Brighton, obviously, at the weekend. United are actually in London. They're not going back to Manchester. Tottenham Thursday is a massive game. 8:15 kickoff. Jeez. Tottenham Thursday is going to be a massive, massive game. Villa Sunday. Now, these are two big games because Tottenham and Villa are actually in contention for the top 4. So playing Tottenham late on the Thursday night and Villa on the Sunday, that is two big games, especially away from home. You know what we're like. We've got Tottenham, Villa, and Brighton. You know, with our injuries, with no Martinez, with no Varane, in the space of a week, we've got to play Tottenham, Villa, and Brighton in the Premier League. The 3 teams that are probably closest to us in that top 4 race. After that, we do have the likes of West Ham, Wolves, Fulham, and Bournemouth, which we should beat. But this is 3 games, and these 3, if we can get past these 3 games, with at least 2 wins, we're fine for top 4. We're fine for top 4. We can get past them with these games with at least 3 wins. But these 3 games this week is the top 4 decider. On Thursday, between the Thursday the 27th of April and Thursday the 4th of May, when we play Tottenham, Villa and Brighton, that is the decider. That is the top 4 decider, because they're the 3 people that are competing with us and Newcastle for top 4, and we play them all with the injuries that we have. This is make or break time for United, and this is the moment that I think, that is our season as well. Mount played best on the left wing. He's a decent 8 though. Is Mount really a left winger? Mount just plays across it. Maddison isn't too injury prone, but we don't need another Martial. I like Maddison, but with Martial, I don't want to be buying any player that has like an injury record. I reckon we should sign Moises Caicedo. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Moises Caicedo, I think, would be a banging signing for United, and I wish that United did look more into Moises Caicedo. I think that he'd be really good as well. Played inside left a little bit, didn't he, as well? I do think that we'll beat Spurs, and I do hope we beat Spurs. But when you look at that fixture list coming up, like, United have got some difficult games. United have got some difficult fixtures coming up, so United are going to need to be on it. Southampton. Is it Southampton Arsenal tonight? Oh my, like, do Arsenal play tonight or not? So Arsenal play Southampton at 8 o'clock. So come on, Southampton. I think that will be an Arsenal win. They've got Ramsdale, White, Holding, Gabriel, Zinchenko. So Rob Holding could cost Arsenal here. Vieira, it's not their strongest side. Vieira in for Xhaka and Holding in for Saliba. Who have they got on the bench at Arsenal? Tierney, Smith-Rowe. Smith-Rowe's really dropped off. He had a good moment. He's been crap. You see, this is the thing. Arsenal are starting to drop off with the lack of depth here. I mean, it'd be an interesting game this, but I do think Arsenal will win. Southampton are Southampton bottom of the league? I think they are, aren't they? Yeah, Southampton are bottom. I mean, I still think this relegation thing is mad. Like, I think West Ham are fine now. I think there was a point where 12th to 20th could go down, but I do think it's Leeds and below. I think West Ham will be fine because they've got that game in hand over Leeds. I think Bournemouth is surprisingly going to stay up, but I think it's between. I think Leicester and Southampton will probably go down. I think Notts are going to just stay up here, and it's going to be one of Everton or Leicester that go down. Everton or Leeds. I think a big side of Everton or Leeds is going to go down. I really hope Forest stay up because they did back their manager Steve Cooper, but it's mad to think that Leicester could be going down as well. Now, I think if Leicester do go down, and we look at Leicester's recent games here, and we look at the Leicester lineup, I was going to say, like, is there any players that you'd snap up for Leicester? Because I'd probably take Maddison if he's available for cheap. Tielemans is a decent player, and indeed he's a decent player, but they haven't been good this season. The thing is, like I say, like Maddison, I would probably take. Maddison's realistically the only player off Leicester for United I'd take on the cheap, because actually, when you think about it, Tielemans and Ndidi, they've not been particularly good this season. I mean, is there any Leicester players that you guys are like, you know what, I'd go out and take? Because I'm just sort of obviously looking at who's at the bottom of the league table and thinking, will I take anyone from Southampton? No. Will I take anyone from Leicester? Maybe Maddison. Will I take anyone from Forest? No. Will I take anyone from Everton? No. Will I take anyone from Leeds? No. But United seem to have this obsession with Melia, who I don't rate. If West Ham went down, I'd take Declan Rice, but we've got Casemiro. Will I take anyone from Bournemouth? No. Will I take anyone from Wolves? Yes. Will I take anyone from Palace? Yes. But Wolves and Palace aren't going down. I'd take Mateus Nunes from Wolves in a heartbeat. I'd probably take Elise and Ezzy from Palace if I could. Chelsea, I wouldn't take anyone. Fulham, Palhinha, maybe. Casemiro back up. Brentford, I'd take Ivan Toney. Liverpool, they're all rubbish. Brighton, I would take a lot of players. I think Matoma's very good. They've just got loads of underrated players at Brighton, but Moises Caicedo would be my first choice with McAllister. Villa have been looking really good. Villa, and this is why I'm worried about playing Villa, because Villa have won, 5 games in a row where they beat Newcastle 3-0. Ollie Watkins is on fire. You see what happens when you get rid of Gerrard and get a proper manager in. Because Villa have a good squad. Buendia is a good player. McGinn's a good player. I think, Douglas Luiz is a good player. I think Watkins is a good player. I think every one of those Villa players is good. I think Villa have a really good squad, and I do think Villa, come this end of the season, could cause United some problems as well. Alex, what's the latest on the Qatari takeover? Well, the latest on the Qatari takeover is that the bids deadline is next week. So this time next week, all the bids we've had to have gone in. It was reportedly being said that new investors are closely examining Elliott Management's sale of Milan to Redbird, carrying out a search and seizure at a number of companies related to football club. They're reportedly interested in United. There's a few little things here and there about it, but it obviously said like next week we're going to know Next week's when the takeover updates. Next week's when we get the news on the takeover, and that's when the deadline is. But Qatar put out a statement yesterday saying that they're very confident and very much believe that they will be the next owners of. Well, they didn't put out a statement, but people who were in the circle with Qatar put out, a report, saying that Qatar are very confident they will be the next owners. Qatar are preparing the bid. It's expected that, the minority offers are probably going in now, but it's expected next Thursday we're going to get an offer from Qatar. So the latest on Qatar is that they're making that third and final offer on Thursday, which could be 6 billion. I mean, Qatar, I'm going to write it down, 6 billion offer Thursday, because I might talk about that. I might talk about that in a video tomorrow, because obviously in my live streams, it's more of a chit chat. I answer questions. We kind of just talk in general, but I'll probably do a general news video that's like 5-10 minutes on like the Qatar situation tomorrow. And obviously we'll do a little bit of a preview for the Brighton FA Cup semi-final as well. But very much the Qatar's bid is going to be big, and it's expected on Thursday. So do remember, guys, we will be live on Thursday, because obviously there's going to be some interesting updates regarding the takeover and the bids coming in. We've got obviously the 2 matches on Thursday. We've got, Thursday's going to be a massive day, because not only have we got the Qatar bid coming in, but we're going to be playing Spurs, which is technically a 6-pointer in this race for top 4. So Thursday's going to be a mad game as well. We could have got Caicedo for 5 million. What a joke, 100%. It still to this day winds me up that United didn't get Moises Caicedo when it was 5 million, because I think it was 4 million, and Wilbur was like, no. De Gea missed Sevilla's 3 goals, and everyone blames Maguire. Yeah, at the end of the day, it is 70% De Gea, 30% Maguire. And I say this now because De Gea was at fault for the first goal in the first leg with the Malacia own goal. Maguire's at fault for the second goal. Maguire and De Gea were at fault for the third goal, but De Gea was purely at fault for the 4th and 5th goal. Yes, Maguire didn't help him. Yes, Maguire was being dreadful, but the blame is 70% on De Gea, 30% on Maguire as well. Why should we talk about transfer targets even though we don't know who's going to be our new owner? And that's the annoying thing, and you make a point in Football Fanatics. We know who we want. We know who we want in. We know who we want out. But it's so annoying because we can't do anything to the new owners in. There's 5 weeks of the transfer market, and we can't do anything until the new owners in as well. Isn't anybody confident about the result against Brighton on Sunday? I'm not confident playing Brighton. I don't know how you guys feel, but I don't feel particularly confident going into the Brighton game. I really don't. Let me know the score predictions in the chat. And if your Glazers out, smash the like button as well. Too many positions to address in one summer. Realistically, need 2 9s, 2 centre mids, a centre back and a right back. Yeah. For me, look, I think we realistically sign 4 players: a big striker, a big midfielder, and a big centre back need to be the first 3. We need proper depth for Martinez and Varane. We need a big striker, we need a big midfielder, and then I would probably get another midfielder in as a Casemiro understudy or another striker, depending if Martial goes. I could leave right back because I can do one more season with Delors and Wan-Bissaka, although it doesn't look like Ten Hag wants to do that, and I can leave goalkeeper to next season. I can leave goalkeeper and I can leave right back to next season. But centre back, we need 1 more in. Midfield, I think we need 2 more in. Striker, I think we need 2 more in. But if we can get 1 big midfielder, 1 big striker, and 1 big centre back, I think that would be the 3 main areas to address. But I also think Casemiro understudy is important. I do think if you get someone like De Jong, who we're not going to get because De Jong doesn't want to come to United, which is really annoying, but at least he can play next to Casemiro and in Casemiro's role, and he would be perfect. All I want is Barcelona to tell De Jong to fuck off and leave and go to United and pay him his wages, and he's got no choice but to leave Barcelona and go to United, but I feel like that's not going to happen. So we have to look elsewhere as well. But United really, really seriously having a look at Alexis McAllister. I think Alexis McAllister is going to go to Liverpool. I think it's going to be very Gakpo, where United want him, but United faff, United delayed takeover, Liverpool swoop in, get the man. I see McAllister going to Liverpool, but United seriously looking midfield-wise. I think Alexis McAllister is the one to watch for. I think right now Kane and Alexis McAllister seem to be the 2 kind of ones where all the reliable journalists, Kane, Alexis McAllister, and Frimpong are the 3 players that all the reliable journalists are saying, look, Ten Hag wants this guy. Ten Hag's interested in this guy. La-di-la-di-la. I take Enzo Fernandez from Chelsea. I would, but no way Chelsea are selling him. I think he's on is he on like a 10-year contract or something? He's on like a 10-year contract. They've paid over 100 million for him. I like Enzo Fernandez. I don't know why do you know what I don't get? Is you at Benfica. Benfica were doing well in the Champions League and stuff, and he was that desperate to leave in January and push for Chelsea. You'd only been at Benfica 6 months. I think Enzo Fernandez should have stayed at Benfica and got a good summer move, because he's just playing for a shit Chelsea side. I know that he was offered mad wages and they paid his release clause. But if I'm Enzo Fernandez, I go, look, I've been at Benfica 6 months. I'm doing well. While I'm doing well, I'll get my move in the summer. La-di-la-di-la. Well, when I've got a lot more choice. Because I think Enzo Fernandez would have been fantastic United. He's good. is a good player, but he was made to play next to Casemiro without a doubt. And it's annoying as well with Enzo Fernandez because Ralph Rangnick, and I will never get over this, and I do not. There's some things in football I never get over. Sounds really dramatic, but it was Ralph Rangnick suggesting Julian Alvarez and Enzo Fernandez, who combined would have been less than 30 million. Instead, that January, they took 30 million out in dividends when they could have taken 5 million out in dividends and spent 25 million to sign Julian Alvarez and Enzo Fernandez. Because imagine the squad with Julian Alvarez and Enzo Fernandez in, how much better we'd be. Because even though Julian Alvarez might not be the finished product, it's a striker that's better than Weghorst, that is young, that could adapt under Erik Ten Hag. Enzo Fernandez, that midfielder that could be Casemiro back up his knee, but play next to Casemiro. Imagine, because we were talking now about needing a top striker and a top midfielder, but if we had Julian Alvarez and Enzo Fernandez, we probably could leave off the midfield a bit and just be looking at maybe another striker, get rid of Martial, get rid of Weghorst, because Man City have got Haaland and Alvarez, and we could be saying, look, we can get a goalkeeper, a striker, and a centre-back this summer because we'd have Enzo Fernandez for a 12 million still in the summer. But the board, even though Ralph Rangnick's got this brilliant history of recommending all these gems and scouting all these gems, the board thought, well, I'm not going to listen to what Ralph Rangnick recommends. Haha, F off Ralph Rangnick. And guess what? Well, you're idiots. You're idiots for pretty much going, whatever, to Ralph Rangnick's fantastic suggestions and giving yourself 30 million dividends, because we wouldn't be having to, I'll tell you what, we'd be in a much better position now. I'm not saying we'd be winning the league or anything crazy, but they would have been top silos. I say that now. Rice over McFred any day as well. Shame going out yesterday was Europa, much more winnable than getting through to Brighton and City in the FA Cup. The thing is, what's annoying about the Europa is we should have been 4-0 up against Sevilla by about half time. We should have had that wrapped up within the first leg. Ten Hag took his subs off too early. Varane got injured. Bruno got suspended. Maguire came on. De Gea made some messes. We shouldn't have lost that game to Sevilla. We shouldn't. We played awful, but we shouldn't have lost that game to Sevilla. We should have beaten them 4-5-0. We're much better than them. That's the annoying thing about the Europa League. But even more so is that Europa League was asked to win. Europa League was, if something fucks up the top four, we've got the Europa League. We don't have that now. I think the FA Cup City will win. However, at least we've got 2 less games. At least that's 2 weeks where the Chelsea game is going to be played midweek for one of the semi-finals. But at least there's one time we're going to get a week's rest instead of 3 days rest, which could be very important. And that means we don't. That's one less game we have to play with Maguire and Lindelof at the back. That is for me the only positive about it, because I'll be honest, I'm annoyed that we went out of the Europa League, because I think it was asked to win. I would have rather gone out of the FA Cup, but you know what? We've got to stop City winning a treble at all costs as well. Dave had an absolute mare, but he still had a good season overall, form-wise. Can't say the same for Harry, exactly. David De Gea, he had a mare. He was more to blame, but Maguire needs to go way before De Gea, 100%. 100%. Oh, yeah. Happy Eid to everyone that's celebrating as well. Enzo on 300k a week at Chelsea. That's why, probably why. Because I don't get all these players that looking at Chelsea, looking at the mess of Chelsea, and like pushing to go to Chelsea. I just sit and I think, why would you want to go to Chelsea right now? Like just why? I get Arsenal, I get Man United, I get Man City. Why would people push for Chelsea? It's like twerking for Spurs. You know what's mad is Mudryk. All these Arsenal fans were hyping up Mudryk, and they were saying Mudryk's going to be class. And Arsenal fans are telling me how good Mudryk is for him to go to Chelsea. He's gone to Chelsea, he's been crap. Now I think he's gone to Chelsea, he's been crap because I think, realistically, I think everyone that goes to Chelsea at the moment is going to be crap because there's no system. But, it's just, I just think Chelsea is just a big fat mess. Todd Boehly needs to he's got the money, but he needs to, Todd Boehly's too involved with Chelsea. He's got the money, but he wants to be involved. He goes in the dressing room to do this and that. He needs to not be involved and get the professionals to do it and give them the money to spend like Abramovich did. That is the problem with Todd Boehly. He's a mess. He's making Chelsea toxic. And they're spending all this money, but they've got Mudryk, they've got Nordi Mukiele, they've got Nkunku coming in, they've got João Felix, they've got Pulisic, they've got Raheem Sterling, Mount, Havertz, all of these players, and they're on like crazy contracts, and they need to get rid of some players. And also, how have they not broken FFP? I know they split it into the long contracts, but surely those long contract payments are going to catch up to them to the extent sometime as well, because the money they're playing is unbelievable. Sancho might not be playing well now, but I think he's one of the few talented players Man United have to pick up form. Sancho has the potential to be one of the best players in the world, and that was what he was like at Dortmund. He was on that list with Mbappe and Haaland. It was like Mbappe, Haaland, Sancho. He was on that list of wonder kids. He's not made it. Sancho could make it. Sancho had the potential to be one of the best players in the world. but I see nothing in Sancho. I see bits in Sancho, but I just don't think it's going to go that way. Dele Alli had it. He doesn't anymore. I'm worried Sancho takes the Dele Alli route, but in terms of quality, Sancho's one of the best we've got. We just don't see it. And maybe it's a mentality thing. Maybe he's not meant for Ten Hag. Maybe he's not meant for the Premier League. What's the poll looking like on the Sancho thing, by the way, guys? What's the poll looking like? Poor Ralph scapegoat. So you know what? I saw a tweet today, actually. I saw a really good tweet today, and it said, you know what? Ralph Rangnick his managerial time might have not been good, but I tell you what, Ralph Rangnick was spot on with everything he said about the club, and you can't deny that. Ralph Rangnick made so many good suggestions, so many good people that we could sign, said that this club needs to sell 10 to 12 players and they will never be good enough, that it needs open heart surgery. Everything Ralph Rangnick said about this club was absolute facts, was absolutely spot on. So people will, obviously criticise his managerial tenure at United. This wasn't good enough, that wasn't good enough. That is fine. But Ralph Rangnick, when he spoke about this club and what this club needs, he was spot on, and they didn't listen to him. He suggested getting a proper sporting director like Paul Mitchell, Julian Alvarez, and Enzo Fernandez. If Ralph Rangnick was here, and if Ralph Rangnick had his way, and if the Glazers listened to Ralph Rangnick, in January we would have got Enzo Fernandez and we would have got Julian Alvarez. In summer we would have got Paul Mitchell and Ten Hag, and we would have, imagine, we'd be in a lot better position now. And then hopefully with the Glazers going, less work for Qatar to do as well. Ten Hag, I've just seen weird pictures of Ten Hag from his press conference as well. But Ten Hag did say in his press conference today, I always think about a refresh for United. We have bad performances, but we do bounce back. I'm convinced that we can bounce back with a good win against Brighton to get us to the final. I tell you what, one thing I want to know is about Martial and his injuries. I really hope there's no major injuries to Martial. Surely we've known Europe all of next season, Chelsea will be called up on FFP, otherwise Qatar should have no fear on spending. Exactly. There's talk about Qatar not being able to spend a lot because of FFP. If Chelsea don't get Europe, they're going to have to sell some players because they'll be coming up with FFP. However, does it even matter these days? Because Manchester City have continuously broke FFP rules. They've gotten away with it. They've found ways to get away with it because they pump a load of money at it. I mean, surely Man City will be punished soon. I don't know. Money talks, eh? Money talks. Alice knows our board of fools. They are. They're the biggest. Our board are the equivalent of April Fools, though. If they're a day of the year, they'd be April 1st, because sometimes I look at them and I think you're having a joke when you do this. You're having a joke when you do that, because a lot of the decisions they make, I think this is a big fat joke as well. Sancho doesn't care. Saka, we don't know that. We don't know what's going on with Sancho. There were psychological issues. There were other issues, but I need that. I need more from Sancho because he's looking like a ghost on the pitch. Absolutely looking like a ghost on the pitch as well. Evan Ferguson would be good. Ragnick's comments are more realistic than our views and approach. Ragnick just was spot on about this club. And, people slate him, and but he was spot on about everything he said about this club was spot on. I'm just checking there's no more news coming out before I end the live stream. There is no more news. So, look, people, in a minute, I'm going to end the live stream as well. So, we're nearly on 100 likes. So, before we do that, can you smash the like button so we hit 100 likes? And, of course, subscribe down below if you're new. I want to just say big up to everybody that tuned into today's live stream. Obviously, I know it's not like the funnest live stream because we just lost to Sevilla, but tomorrow I'll do a takeover update. Other news on that, but obviously just wanted to talk about the savageness of getting rid of a lot of players. So anyway, guys, please do smash that like button, subscribe down below, share the video. I'll see you next time, and bye.